Okay, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Lee Zeitz. I'm from University of Northern Iowa, and I'm also the president of the ISTE Global Collaboration PLN. And tonight we're going to have a webinar which should be quite exciting. We have the honor of having Fran Siracusa from Florida. She's going to lead us in a webinar entitled The Relevance of Connections. And this is where she's going to be talking about the experiences that she's had with students and some just amazing things that she's done. She has told me that she was a Spanish teacher for 20 years and is now the global programs developer for Calliope Global. She's presently working on something called the SDG project, Teach SDG project, which is based upon sustainable development goals, which is developed by the world leaders back in 2015, which is something I didn't know anything about, but now I'm learning a great deal. But the important thing is, amongst all of that, is that Fran was selected this year from the ISTE Global Collaboration PLN applicants for first prize in the innovation in online global collaboration. Let's give her a big hand. There we go. And we had 17 applicants from 8 different countries, and we just had some amazing pieces, but we thought that Fran stuck out. What I'd like to do is I want to take you on a little tour of using Zoom, and then I want to go out and provide a couple comments, some suggestions for how we're going to use this, and then hand it over to Fran. So if we can start out, you're looking at your screen, and what it has is if you take your cursor and you put it over into the screen for Zoom, you'll notice that up in the upper right-hand corner, you might see a Rubik's Cube, a little set of squares. That's the gallery view. And if you click on that, you get to see everybody, which is a pretty neat way to go. If you want to just make it so the person who's speaking is the one who's in the middle, you can click on that. Gallery view is a good way to go. Now, if we go down to the bottom, you'll notice that menu pops up along the bottom. The over left-hand corner, it says mute. If you are not speaking, I would appreciate it if you would click that mute right now, because what that does is if there's any kind of background noise or anything like that, it keeps it from working. If it turns out that you're not muted and there's some noise coming, I may go in and mute it for you, just as a common courtesy. Stop video. We notice that the people down at the bottom, they do not have their pictures going. They stopped the video because they wanted to listen to it, which is completely okay. Also, there's the ability to invite people to this session if we want to. The ability to share a screen is something that Fran's going to be using tonight. There's also a chat room. If you click on that chat room, you see the chat. You should have chat appear on the right-hand side. And what I'd like you to do right now, please, is type in your name, the location as to where you are, and then what is it that you do that has to do with education. Maybe you're a teacher, maybe you're an administrator, maybe you're in the business of education. If you'll type that in, that'd be terrific. And then at the very end, over on the right-hand side, it says End Meeting. Well, what you'll do is you'll simply go down there, click on that, and that'll be done. Now, as we go through, I have the chat room open. And what I'd like you to do is this is going to be an interactive webinar. It isn't something where she's going to be showing PowerPoints and you have to wait till the very end for questions. Now, I asked Fran about this, and she said that she'd like to make it a little bit more interactive. So if you have questions, please type them into the chat room. Now, Fran may not get to them right away, and I'm going to help, point them over and funnel them in and filter them for her. But she could also go through, and if she sees a question that's a good one, she'll be sharing that. Also, if you come across resources, now these resources might be she starts talking about something and you have a project you did that you'd like to share, or you have a blog posting or something you saw, or you go out and you find something. If you want to throw those in there too. Also, if Fran or somebody else mentions something that you think is important, maybe it's a tool or something like that you would like to remember, go ahead and type it in there. As I said, these transcripts are going to be available tomorrow, so you can take a look at that. The places where it's going to be posted, we'll be tweeting out how you can get to it, but Fran's going to put it up on her, we're going to be tweeting it out with our ISTE hashtag, which is hashtag ISTE Global PLN. And then Fran's going to be putting on her YouTube channel. I'll be posting it on my blog, drzreflex.com. And that's about it. Before we get started, does anybody have any questions? Okay, well, with that, Fran, why don't you take it away? Can't hear you, Fran. Hang on. I unmuted you. There you go.
Sorry, we're going to be playing with this. Hi, everyone. Welcome tonight to our webinar. And I'm really excited to see such a variety of international educators here. A great big welcome to Marilyn, our friend here who is from Australia. So I'm so happy to see her here. And also Rolat from Canada. And then I see some other friends, but I like when it's a global education talk and we are actually an international group. So this is wonderful. Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and basically I'm going to talk about one particular project that we undertook this spring, but it resembles another project that we did last spring, of which a couple people here were involved in. Tracy over there, Tracy Brady from New York, she was involved last year. And we have connections here. And so if anyone wants to pop in at any time, just let me know, wave your hand, and we'll get you in here. So let me see if I can share my screen. And okay. I'm going to do share computer sound also. So let's see. What you're going to see here is I was talking to Lee last night, and I said that I would make a presentation so that you all could follow it, so it becomes kind of the skeleton of what I'm going to talk about. I'm using a tool called Buncee, which is a creativity and presentation tool that I absolutely love. And this way that if you wanted to take notes or do something, I can share this at the end. I'll share the link and you'll have all this. And from here, I have everything linked up.
Fran,
yes?
May I make a, she now shared her screen, and if your chat room may have disappeared. If it did, what it means is you go up to the top where you see view options, click on that and exit the full screen. And then what it will do is it'll bring it back down. You'll be seeing her part, and also we'll have the chat room in there.
Okay. That means I won't see the chat room?
No, you should see, do you see the chat room?
No, I just see us.
Why don't you go up there? Do you see across the top, you see that there's something that says options? You can open up the chat room there.
Okay, hold on. Oh, I see it now. Okay. More. I'm not seeing that right now. So maybe if you see a question, or we'll pause and then
we'll do that. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I just wanted to let you all know that all the links and all the information is here on the presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and send it out. So if you all want that, it has live links and we can see everything. Okay, so what I was talking about was the relevance of connection. And I'm also in a group called Connections-Based Learning. And as a Spanish teacher from a long, long time ago, I really realized that it was really important for the students to be communicating with each other. And since I was a Spanish teacher way back when, I tried to figure out different ways for my students to speak in the target language with others. And we've done many different, methods of doing that. But with the advent of technologies in schools and just it just really opened up a whole new world into connecting with others electronically, both synchronous and asynchronously, as well as, we've been lucky enough that we've been able to travel and actually meet the students that we've communicated with. But excuse me one second. When I think about it, I kind of think of, I, as an educational technologist and as a Spanish teacher for over 20 years, I really wanted to always have my students be interested in global citizenship. My background is my mother was born and raised in Spain. So I have relatives that still are in Spain, and we would travel over there every couple summers and spend a month over there and see the family and totally live and be immersed. And then also another thing about me is that Spanish was my first language, even though I was in the United States. My mother really didn't speak much English. And so there was that whole, I was immersed in the Spanish language, and I'm very lucky. But just, through university, through traveling, I studied abroad in Spain. I've done extensive travel. I've volunteered in different countries. And as a teacher, I would chaperone trips where we would take the students to other countries. And I always noticed that, even though it was a tour, their favorite part of the students was always the time that they connected with the other students, because I would make sure that there would be some segment where they would do that. And that's where it was the most authentic. And even if it was just, a basketball game or a soccer game, or one time it was actually, we were doing a project on iPads, but when the kids got to work and were just sitting there communicating and really trying to communicate with each other for a real purpose, that's when the real learning happened. But also, one thing about, foreign language education and global education, I also think global education is like empathy education. So you're always going to put yourself in the shoes of someone else to kind of feel, that you want to develop that mutual understanding. And there's, lots of ways to do that. So when I was kind of thinking about this, last year and this year, I was more interested, and I found out about something called the SDGs. Now, the SDGs are also called the Global Goals, and they're the Sustainable Development Goals. And actually, about 17 years ago, they started off as the Millennial Development Goals, and then in 2015, they were targets that they wanted to do. We wanted to focus ourselves and our energies on ending poverty and a bunch of other things to make the world a better place, and also instill peace. And so we came a long way when the members of the UN and the world community looked at it, but also thought, we had a lot of progress, but we need to go a lot further. So they changed the name to the Sustainable Development Goals in 2015. And then, so these are goals for 2030. So what you see over here, the Teach SDGs, this is part of a task force that I have joined up in, and basically working with people at the UN and in other organizations to really spread the message of the Sustainable Development Goals through education. And really, when you think about it, and what was posed to us too is, just hypothetically, if a student were, 8 years old or 6 years old, and they were learning about the different sustainable development goals through, their education pieces, their writing pieces, math pieces, science pieces, history pieces, if they were always looking through that global lens, and let's say they did that for 10 years, by the time they turned 16 or 18 and become an adult, looking through this lens would become a habit. And perhaps they will lead their lives a little bit differently than possibly we do right now, because they were always thinking about it. For example, a couple of the goals, goal number 5 is gender equality, and that's the one I'm going to talk about today. Last year, we worked with goal number 6, which was clean water and sanitation. Goal number 4 is quality education. Goal number 1 is no poverty. Goal number 14 is life on land. Then there's life below water. There's lots of different ones. So, and the other thing too is, whenever I was working with students, I always wanted whatever projects that we did to have an actual authentic quality to it and go further. So along with that, and kind of thinking about, well, what could be our take action pieces, I kind of had this has just become a passion project of mine, where I would love students to campaign for something, innovate for something. It has to do with their classes, but also there's a greater good. So that's what I was just writing down here, vision for social good, just to give me an idea about that. So, 1 second. Okay, so I had the opportunity to meet with a group of people, Ambassador Decima Williams, and she is the ambassador to the UN who actually is working with getting the SDGs message out through education. And one of her committees is she works under the president of the General Assembly. And when she was talking to us, she always used the word relentless. And I just thought that was a great word, and I kind of thought about it. So relentless students crave opportunities for empowerment. And in my experience with the projects that we do with students, if we give them something or an assignment or a task, and especially if it's real, they take it and they go off running, and they take it and just everything is amplified. They can do so many amazing things, and especially if it's a real situation. And what I think I'm going to get back from them, they give me back tenfold. And I know that happens in lots of other classrooms all over the world. So if you think about your students being relentless, trying to figure out ways to engage them and empower them and give them the tools so that they can do something bigger. And if I think about global education stakeholders, I think about they need to see the relevance of connection. The student should be enabled to work with others, even if, for example, with schools and, we need to keep things private. For example, if you found a partner classroom and you have vetted them out, or there's different ways to work with different companies so that both classrooms, you could work synchronously with the other classroom, or everything could go through the teacher. There's always ways to work with others that are still, in guidelines, or there's different ways to manage it. Another thing is we must promote and experience intercultural understanding. When you think about what is going on in the world, the tragedies that are going on in the world, everything, I think a lot of, what it starts with us in the classroom. So if we start to work with other people and learn tolerance and learn understanding, and then again, empathy and putting ourselves in other people's shoes, I think that is only going to benefit the students. And then Ambassador Decima Williams always said, we ought to understand the concept of solidarity and connectedness with each other. So something about, ISTE, and you think about connectivity. Connectivity is different than connection. So we have all these tools to connect with others, but if you're going to have, create a relationship and delve into it and work with someone else, then it's not just connectivity, it's connectedness. And when you think about it, if we have, for example, Tracy there in New York, and our friend here in Australia, and Lee who's out in Iowa, and our friends in Canada, and all of a sudden we kind of look about, all the issues and, the problems or whatever is happening in the world, maybe we'll think, okay, we can problem solve together, or we can create something together. And even though I'm over here in Florida and she's over there in Australia, there's a reason that we're connecting with each other, and we're all trying to do a little piece of be the change. So kind of just think about, that concept about solidarity and connectedness. And this is something that I've always thought, for our students, we want to prepare our students to make a difference in the world, not just learn about the world. So if you, have something where it's a science lesson and it has to do with, the creatures underwater, maybe the students could delve a little bit more into it and maybe campaign for something to help a certain situation. So again, not just learning about the world, but making a difference in the world. Another word I like is catalytic. And when you think about, if you're catalytic, you are going to be the spark that really shoots things up. And I think, for example, and I see a group of friends here that are on this webinar, a lot of people that are here are people that are in my PLN. And what happened was, I knew a person who knew a person who invited another person to go ahead and be a part of something. And, it just starts with one person having an idea. And then basically, through, thank goodness with Twitter and our PLN and our global PLN, we can reach out to other people and invite them to go ahead and participate in different things with us. And then I think that spark is really just going to make everything grow. And I think that's really, really important. We also want to think about, I was kind of thinking about it myself. Our president right now is overseas and he's working with other leaders, and, they're having meetings, and I feel like hopefully in the meetings they're collaborating and working together. So just like our leaders are doing this, why don't we kind of think about right now with our students in our classrooms, figure out ways where they can collaborate and work together. So it's very natural when they are older to be doing these things. So I just think that, our students are going to be the problem solvers of today and tomorrow. So when you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, one to really keep in mind is goal number 4, which is quality education. And each of the goals, if you go to the UN site, yes.
Before you move on to that one, you're talking about how do the students react? I mean, when you put them in this thing and you're saying, I want you to change the world, what kind of reactions do you get?
Sometimes, with my students, when I presented this project to them, I said, everything that you work on, we're going to show it to the people at the UN, and I'm going to show it to friends and teachers and other people, and just you watch, we're going to have a whole bunch of people all contributing and doing this together with us. And at the time, I had put out something on Twitter and asked a couple of friends to join up and pick one of the SDGs, and I have a friend in California, Nick Clayton, and he said, I would love to do this. And even, I was working with middle school 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and he was working with 7th graders in, I think, a special education class. And we were trying to look at the goals and kind of think of, okay, what would we connect on? What's something that we might have in common? And it was just, we decided on gender equality. And it just happened to be that was the one we picked, but we thought, each of us could contribute something to the conversation, and the kids could learn a lot. And, we felt like it was a good goal to just start with. So, and they were excited because they did want to connect with, they thought it was really neat that we were going to be connecting with people in California.
So they were excited about it. Now, Michael says, do they really have to change the world? I mean, he was pointing out, remember that whole idea about the starfish? Somebody throws a starfish back into the ocean and they say, well, what difference does that make? They said it made a world of difference to the starfish.
Yeah.
So maybe even small things, think globally, act locally?
Right, definitely. And maybe Tracy might have something to add to that conversation. Tracy, do you have anything? If you unmute yourself. She has a good story.
We checked on water scarcity, and I teach Spanish, so I did my Spanish classes, and we started with a webinar with Karishma Bagani, who founded that, and it was Fran who introduced me to her. And it all very serendipitous happened, that I had a flat tire, got the email to watch Sean Robinson's webinar, but my students were amazed, and what connected and related with them instantly was the fact that Karishma was a freshman in high school when she started this project that has become an actual not-for-profit. And so this was someone who had begun her journey at the same age as they were. So they were able to see that someone had actually made a difference, someone who was older than they were. And that was surprising to them. But it also made them realize that they could get involved, could make a difference. So that was kind of what sparked me and got me working on this project. And I've connected with somebody else who's working on a different kind of open source water purification devices. So it's really very exciting. And to see the reactions of the kids when they realize that this isn't just about playing school. This is about making real differences, and that they can do that even from within their classrooms in their little part. It can make a big difference to other people. So.
Great. Exactly. And even Michael was part of the group that I invited him also to just take a look or see if he has any teachers that would be interested in just providing their input regarding gender equality. But thinking back at the time when I was working with Tracy, we were looking at water scarcity in Kenya, but at the same time, the students, I was working with fifth graders, and they brought up the water crisis in Flint, Michigan. So they really did look at it. I thought it was great that they were looking, and we did a little bit of research, they were looking at it locally and globally. So there's a catchphrase called global when you kind of look at the two and do a comparison or relate and compare how the different items are while the students are investigating. Are there other questions, Lee?
No, that's pretty much it. Michael just had to leave because he has to go teach.
Okay. So just going back here to just education, if you think about all the goals, one of the things, you can probably make everything revolve around education. So even though it's not goal number one, I almost feel like it is, because, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but the first target, access to any form of both primary and secondary education, including books, classrooms, and teachers. And the second target is quality education must be stressed, as well as eliminating gender disparities and equal access for vulnerable peoples. So when and I will show you guys the different resources that I use, but when we first started talking about gender equality, we were looking at some examples of what girls, young girls were undergoing in Asia and in the Middle East. And part of it was, it had to do with poverty. It had to do with, some, the cultural or the different, where the students were, but they didn't even have access to education, which just because they were girls. So that was a really strong point. And when I was working with middle schoolers, my middle schoolers were basically 11 to 14 years old. And we were watching some videos and seeing different things about girls who were 12 years old getting married off. And then, right then and there, they're young, and I feel like they're babies, and then they're expected to have babies. And just really putting the kids in those, had to really think about it and be empathetic towards that people their age don't have an option to go to school. That's the way it was. But then seeing people like Malala and seeing people like Mazoon who campaign for young girls to have access to education. So these were all, topics that came in, but I'm just kind of giving you an example how even though we studied goal 5, which was gender equality, it really had a lot to do with goal 4, which is quality education.
Just another point, and that is that, is it Rola? Okay, Rola says that she did something where she connected her students. Well, Rola, why don't you tell us what you did?
I'm muting. What we did is we did the Sustainable Global Goals, but what was interesting for the students that they found out that the United Nations wrote about the Canadian First Nation communities, the lack of clean water, and they've been over 25 years of contaminated water and boiling waters. And so they are working with a couple of engineers from University of Ottawa presently, many groups are designing different teams of water filters. And so we're using many elements to purify from mercury. And so it can go from coriander to charcoal. So they're presently finishing the prototypes. They should be done by Monday. So that's also another blog that I'm behind professionally. So I'm hoping to get 2-3 blogs out on the things we've done with the Sustainable Global Goals and the water filters.
And that's in the link of the Be Think Local?
It is kind of those links, but we're using the identity one with the Teach SDGs, and so we're going to embark on that. But that's something that we decided to do for a national project.
Well, if you could put that link into the chat, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And just, no. And just like she was saying too, when we were studying SDG goal, Sustainable Development Goal 6, which was the clean water and sanitation, the students, there's a great video from water.org which shows that the women and children spend so much time collecting water that there is no time for education, and then it's just a vicious cycle. So they're all very, very interconnected, and issues and problems that people are facing. So it's great to see students kind of think about what can they do. So I always look at the ISTE standards for students when I do any project, and I was pondering, the different skills, and I looked at these three as qualities that we would hope to cultivate in our students during such a project. And I thought, okay, digital citizen, creative communicator, and global collaborator. And on my next slide, right here, we can go ahead and go, there's a live link here, but let me see if I can just zoom in here. So students use digital tools to connect with learners from a variety of backgrounds and cultures, engaging with them in ways that broaden mutual understanding and learning. So sometimes you could watch a video, it's as simple as watching a video and seeing someone else's world from their perspective. And there's different movies. You don't actually have to connect with the person to still be engaged with the lesson. Students use collaborative technologies to work with others, including peers, experts, or community members, to examine issues and problems from multiple viewpoints. One thing that I will show later on, it's an example that Michael had, there's something called Flipgrid. And Flipgrid is a tool that has many little boxes when people can give a 30-second video in answer to a question. And then you see a whole bunch of different people's opinions, and then you can respond to those opinions. So that would be a great one if you were to pose a question, and if you found another teacher that wanted to do it also. So both sets of students can go ahead and give their input and reply to each other, and you can have it in a safe space to, for example, examine an issue. Students contribute constructively to project teams, assuming various roles and responsibilities to work effectively toward a common goal. So one of my goals, and I'll talk about it, is I ask the students to kind of think about and pretend that they were worked at a PR firm and they were graphic designers. And what I wanted them to do is create the perfect digital poster that would go out on social media to campaign for the goal, which was gender equality. And so with that, we used Buncee. The Buncee presentation tool is very, and I'll show you an example of it, but basically each of the students worked and kind of, after we had done all of our exploring, they kind of went back and then they were reflective, and they had a chance to be creative, and it was a chance for imagination. And then kind of thinking, and then to make it authentic, I said, if you can, I'd like you guys to post it on your social media mediums. And if you aren't comfortable doing that, or you're not able to do that, maybe you could ask your parents to post it on theirs. And if that's not an option, tell me and I'll post it out for you. So, and they were really thinking, wow, this is really going to go out there and this is a real reason. And I was telling them, yes. And if we use the proper hashtags, people who are interested in this, they'll see how many other people are interested, and you're all part of a collective group. So having that lesson with the students was nice. And then look here at 7D. Students explore local and global issues and use collaborative technologies to work with others to investigate solutions. So for example, when Tracy was talking with us, the girl Karishma Bagani, she was, like we said, she's a student from Mombasa, Kenya. She was 18 at the time, and she had developed a water purification unit. And our hope was that she could connect with students all over the world and be the expert that they could talk to her to find out what she did to invent this and kind of talk about why she did it, and then be able to ask her questions. And then Karishma just asked back to the students, if you feel you can do anything, I would love you to. And my only request is I'm not asking for donations, but what I would love you guys to do is campaign and let people know that water scarcity is an issue. So if you want to create a poster, if you want to actually draw something, if you want to create a video, if you want to create something, in a STEM lab, just something that makes people think about the issues with water scarcity. And then the students, and along with her, they investigated solutions and sent them over to her. And she's, working towards, again, campaigning for these purification units over there. So that, I just wanted to show how that was similar. Any questions? Okay, so students can employ digital tools such as messaging and posting apps, digital artifact creation apps, and video communication and or broadcasting, for example, to broaden their perspectives and global awareness while conversing or working with international peers. So again, if you can find another educator who is globally minded that would want to work with you, you could figure out something perhaps through Twitter if you use a hashtag, or on Voxer if the two educators happen to be connected on Voxer. You could have the students talk back and forth. Digital artifact creation. So for example, like I said, with Bunsey, they could create something. Video communication. We've used Google Hangout and Skype, and then today we're using Zoom. So you could work with another classroom and use these tools to connect. Broadcasting. So just like we're going to do, and I do this a lot too, if the students do something, they'll send me the video recording and then I'll post it on my YouTube channel so that it'll be sent out, and then we'll use Twitter to go ahead and broadcast it out and get more of a reach. So these are just examples and things to think about. So I put down my project steps, and so what I did was I asked like I said, you want to choose one global goal to start and find a project partner in your PLN. So I had reached out, and then Nick and I decided we would go ahead and we would do gender equality. And then the next part was, let's access quality resources for global goals integration. So one of the places that I went, and I'll go up here right now, it's called The World's Largest Lesson. And it's by a group that partners with UNICEF. So if you can just watch here, World's Largest Lesson. And on their website, they have a grid. And on the grid, they've got these great videos too to introduce the students, but they have the Sustainable Development Goals. And if you see here, if you click on any of them, they'll have resources there. So me as a teacher, this was really nice because they already had some lesson plans there. So here's a scroll down for lesson plans, posters, and other resources for teaching. So Nick and I took a look at these and we thought, okay, what would we like our students to do? And you can look at the targets and figure out what focus you want to have. So we just figured, let's just do this first one. End all forms of discrimination against all women and girls everywhere. And we kind of just, concentrated on that. But for example, this is Emma Watson. And she started this program, He for She, From Where I Stand, where you take just a simple survey, and it actually looks like a Google form, and you answer 5 questions. And what it does is it'll come up with a ratio for you, because she was hoping that the ratio, or she thinks in the world, or we were trying to say it should be 50-50, guys and women and men all in positions equally. But the questions are, for example, is the president or prime minister of your country male or female? Is your mother's employer the boss? Is he a male or a female? Is the mayor of your town a male or a female? And it had just, a couple questions, and then it gives you a ratio. And then it will ask you to go ahead and just write down the city that you wrote it from. Other than that, you don't put your name on it, and it just goes on a global map. And so I had the students participate in that way. So that they could kind of look at, where people in the world, what the ratios were coming up with. And even, at our school, within the class, it was different to see what the ratios were. And most of them, they were skewed to be more towards the men than the women. So if you look down here, here's a lesson plan. Everybody wins when girls can stay in school. We used a little piece of that. And this one, the world is not equal. Is that fair? I took a piece of this lesson plan, and maybe you guys have done this before. They were just talking, we were just, kind of saying, I wanted to really emphasize the point to the kids that you don't control what you're born. You're born male or you're born female. But it's just kind of like a draw also to where you're born in the world and the resources that you have. So I brought in a big bag of candy, and I had everyone stand in a circle, and I didn't explain anything. It was like a silent exercise, and I went around and handed out pieces of candy. And to a couple people, I gave a big handful of candy, but to most people, I only gave one or two. And we kind of use that as an example of, why, why did one person get more than another? And before, the kids, they tried to guess. They're like, well, maybe Susie got more because she's, doing this. And I said, nope, it's just completely random. And then they just could not wrap their heads around it. And we kind of related that to the gender equality issues. When I asked them to go ahead and create digital posters, these are examples of what I wanted. So I said, we're going to go ahead and share with Mr. Clayton's class, but think about the targets and think about the research and everything you've learned. What is the biggest point that you would like to put across? And we're going to go ahead and share with other students around the world. So, I would call this, a digital poster. So the students created digital posters, and I said, you could use a quote, you could use a fact, you could use a target, you can draw your own, and then I'll show you what they came up with. So these are examples of different items. This is also the actual icon. So we printed these out, and I took, you could see that we took some pictures of the kids holding up the icon that they were passionate about. This is the story about Mazoon, who she was in a refugee camp, and then I guess she went around, and I think she did this starting at age 12. She went around to speak to the fathers, to convince all the fathers not to send their their daughters off to just go get married. She was trying to convince them, they can study longer and be a more not just go and be a homemaker, be able to, work and do something different. So we looked at, different items, but as you can see here at World's Largest Lesson, they have it for all the goals. So there's a great resource. Any questions? So from there, what I did was, number 4, create a resource collection to share with students. So instead of that page was more for me as the teacher. And then what Nick and I did was we created our own that we wanted the students to see. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to show you this. So this is on my website, and I took all the resources and put it all on one page, and then I had all the students go here. And I have a video that always, when I embedded it, it always starts right up. So I want to make sure that I turn it off. But you can see, I asked the students for their digital artifacts. I said, you can create a cartoon. There's something called Storyboard that they could use with it. The students with whom I worked, we were at an IB school, so we were kind of thinking these posters hang up in the hallways of the IB school, and it talks about, learner profiles and different things.
Please welcome Sherry Weston, Vice President of Strategy and Innovation.
So this video right here that was about to start is from the Social Good Summit, and it's someone, the girl Mazoon, actually talking about what she was doing. I don't know if you've seen this. If you watched the Super Bowl last year, this is just a commercial. It's from Audi. And the little girl is driving a go-kart, and she wins the race against all the boys. But then at the end, Audi said that they pledged to, for all their hires, the people that they hire at their company, it would always be 50-50. So they were taking a public pledge. So I was showing how, how it's everywhere. This video right here, Like a Girl, it's talking about the negative connotation of when someone says you throw like a girl or hit like a girl or fight like a girl. And it, when you asked a girl to do it, she did it kind of like wimpy because that was what she thought she needed to do. And it was about girls should not feel that way. If fight like a girl, you should be tough. And, these are just different ways to connect with the students. This is a flip grid that we had. So basically I'm just showing there's just one giant resource, and this is where I had the students go. And even the students helped me put all this together. So my lesson plans were here. And then if you haven't seen Padlet, Padlet's an interactive corkboard. So what we did was, this is the actual Padlet. So we put out a link to it and out on Twitter, so that not just Mr. Clayton and my students were on there, but anybody could be on there. So we simply asked the students to create a digital artifact, a digital poster, to just reflect on what they think the message should be if they wanted to kind of spread the message of what gender equality should mean, or the, Sustainable Development Goal number 5. So I'm just gonna pop in on one of these. But
we've got about 12 minutes. We have about 12 minutes left, Fran. I think we can probably run over some, but we want to make sure that we don't go too long.
Okay. So, but you can see all of these were made by the students, and they're all very different. And then, sometimes we wrote their names, sometimes we just said grade 6 or grade 7, but there's different things that they could do. So, and then you could see that people from New York, and then there was Bronwyn Joyce from Australia. She had 3rd graders, and she had her 3rd graders contribute to it. So that was really neat to see little ones even taking a stand for it and kind of looking at it and then adding what they thought. So you can see what they did. Okay. All right. Next. Sorry, here we go. Okay, so enable the students to campaign with a digital poster, which I just showed you. And then what I did was I then asked the students, I said, okay, we're gonna do a separate project now that we had our little project, and I want you to look at all of the goals. And I want you to create a, kind of like a website, but it's gonna be a Sway or an Adobe Spark. And it's gonna be invent, innovate, or campaign. So you take your goal, you work with a partner or 2 partners, or if you want, you can work by yourself, and you're going to choose your goal, and you're going to accomplish some things on this. And then we're going to go ahead and spread the message. And that way you're going to be campaigning for your goal. And then at the end, I just really feel strongly that the students, we should always celebrate their work. So usually, we could do something where we would have a Skype or something with the partner classroom, or, we could see that we can reflect and comment on each other. And then I told them, of course, that I would spread the message to the people at the UN so that they can see what the students did. So if you want to read all about this whole process, I have a blog post, and it's linked here. And then my resource collection, which we were just at, that had everything with gender equality, that example is right there. So that's linked for you. You just saw the Padlet where I had all the different posters for gender equality. And then this is the Padlet right here for the Invent, Innovate campaign projects. So when the students created their item, and I'll show you an example of one, also in the classroom, I asked to take a picture of them. So I took a picture of the group holding up the goal that they were campaigning for. So if you look down, you can see all the different students that did this. And then at the end, what I did was I posted it out on Twitter and then asked other people to go ahead and join us. So, and I said you could, one of the pieces was to create a digital artifact. Let me just show you this one. So these are 6th grade girls, and I had, even to model what I wanted from them, I created the instructions in this format. So I told the students, the first thing you need to do is you need to pick your goal, and then behind it, you need to go ahead and put the icon for that goal. And then I said, if you can find a couple support posters or write down the targets that you're going to focus on. So the kids went through and then they picked what they wanted to write. Here's the support poster. Then I said, okay, you need to create, again, just like last time, you need to create a digital artifact, a poster that would campaign that we can tweet out. So you can see what they have created here, and they used Buncee again. No one deserves poverty, help us stop it together. I taught them about how to do hashtagging, so Teach SDGs and hashtag goal number 1. I asked them to go ahead and put in a live link, a button that has a link. So if I push this, it'll take us to the Buncee. I asked them to go ahead and find a proper video, maybe from World's Largest Lesson or another source. And I said you had to embed the video. So this is an example of them embedding. Because we were at a Catholic school, I asked them to think about how it can relate back to their faith or their classes or things that they might talk about when it comes to ethics. And I asked them to create something. So this is what the students created, along with a quote. And here's another one too. And then I asked them to think about what they actually do already to, that they already engage with that goal. And so since it was poverty, the kids in the math class, sometimes they play math games on freerice.com. So they thought of that. Okay, that's a good example of them doing something to help others. And then they linked here. They added a couple more buttons. And then since they were an IB school, I asked them to kind of think about what, from the learner profile, what characteristics and what skills were they stretching in this project. So they had to kind of reflect and think about that. And so they wrote that 3 IB traits are a thinker, inquirer, and caring. Why they help, and inquirer thinks of questions. Why is this happening? A thinker might think of solutions, and caring, if you're caring, you're going to help. And then another religious one. And then they created this. And then I said they had to create another artifact that wasn't just a digital poster. And so what these girls did was they created a cartoon. But I had some kids create a Chatterpix video. Some people created a Flipgrid. Some people did different things. But they created this with storyboard that. And then here's the 3 girls that worked together. So this was in a tech class. Does anyone have any questions?
How many students did you have working on this at once? In other words, your class size was what?
I had 3 classes, and it ranged from 20 to 28 students at a time. And what I did was I met with them twice a week for 2 45-minute periods. And they did the bulk of this during class. And we started with the gender equality. So basically what I did was we kind of, had a warm-up activity, and then either, watched a little snippet of a video or had a classroom discussion on what was going on. And then I would introduce a new quick tool, a tech tool with them where they would play with it. And then eventually we got to the point where it was the creation time. And then after they, like you all saw when they created their gender equality one, then we took it to the next one. And then I, again, we kind of looked at all the goals, and then I allowed them to go ahead and get in groups and pick, what stood out to them and how they wanted to display their learning. But again, I had them be super reflective, especially when it came to their IB program, their religious program, and again, using creativity through different tech tools. So if I would have suggestions for success, I would say to everyone, connect with like-minded educators. Even if, a lot of times I work with 1 or 2 people, and we're all very flexible and we support each other. And just because what I'm doing in my class doesn't mean that has to be exactly what, for example, Nick or Bronwyn was doing in their class. We can each do it our own way, but share it together. And then create authentic tasks. I had told them, we're going to go ahead and put this out, and I would like you guys to put it out because I think it, it's a discussion to be had. And even if it was something that spreading the message of the Sustainable Development Goals and gender equality, asking them to talk about it with their parents, see if their parents would, put on Facebook their new poster and just spread the message. And then finding good resources. And then, so when I thought about connecting with like-minded educators, I think of, my ISTE PLN. I also thought of the different teachers at my Catholic school, and also other teachers with whom I've worked, people in the IB program, my PLN on Twitter. I'm a member of ACTFL, which is the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, to ask even other teachers of foreign languages, for example, like Tracy, how we can go ahead and apply it to those kinds of things. And then we just talk about what, we throw out ideas and figure out things. Sorry, hold on. Okay, and then also creating authentic tasks. So here you see a picture of Karishma, and then her job was, you know, she's the one that created the water filtration purification unit to give to the people in Mombasa, Kenya, and then having the kids, the students, you know, campaign. And then this year, a couple of the students ran fundraisers. So the project moved into, you know, cycle number 2, and it went further. This guy, he is from Canada, and he was working with his teacher, whose name is Sean Robinson, and they were combating something called light poverty. And light poverty means that they don't have lights at night because of, you know, electricity or resources, and the kids can't study at night because once it's dark, it's dark. So his students in his science class literally made these with the 3D printer, and then they connected with another group, and the kids, the students, actually sent these to the Dominican Republic. So again, no poverty is the SDG through which the global lens that they look through, but the students created something with their own hands to help kids in another school in the Dominican Republic. And then this one, my friends who are foreign language teachers, they were looking at the SDGs, and they were talking about, well, one of the things we wanted to help with is the zero hunger. So they had a group come actually in their whole community. This was in Ponte Vedra, Florida, and to make meals, and it's kind of like a mash meal that they put together, but they made 10,000 meals to send to, I believe it's Africa. So, you know, just it's the whole, again, the solidarity piece, but you do different pieces. It can be part of school also. Finding good resources, and I have them all here. There are so many resources, but a couple that I wanted to just share were Asia Society, the teachsdgs.org site, books by Fernando Reimers, and Julie Lindsay has some books. World's Largest Lesson, which I showed you. ISTE has so many resources. There's collections at Participate. Participate actually has courses that you can take that you can actually use for continuing education credit. And one of them is a Teach SDGs course where you learn how to teach the SDGs. And, you know, Twitter chats, there's the ISTE Global PLN chat, there's the Global Ed chat on Thursday nights, there's the CBL, which stands for Connections-Based Learning chat, there's many more. So here are my links, so they're live, but through Asia Society, they really pinpoint the pillars of global competencies, and I kind of always think about these when I facilitate a project with the students. So investigate the world, weigh perspectives, communicate ideas, and take action. Our SDGs website points to a couple courses. There's a course through Microsoft, there's a course through Participate. I urge all teachers on this webinar today to go ahead and take the pledge to teach SDGs. So you can sign up there. And if you'd like to get more involved, we will, there are lots of places that we can point you to. Blog posts. If you would like 6 steps, kind of how I showed how to teach the SDGs, you can go to read this blog post by Jennifer Williams. Harriet Marshall works with a global group, education group in the UK, and she has a great blog post that I linked here too that you could read. If you go to this link, it'll take you right there to Amazon, and this is Empowering Students to Improve the World in 60 Lessons. And Fernando Reimers is a professor at Harvard, and he and his grad students all wrote this collection together, and it's literally 60 lessons. And you can get it for $1 on Kindle on Amazon, or you can get the physical copy for $14. So if you're looking for some summer reading and you would just like an idea of how you can incorporate the Sustainable Development Goals, you can go ahead and pick up this book. Have you seen the taxonomy of global connection? This was shared with me last night by Lee, and it really resonated with me. But just think about, you know, whenever we do a project, it's nice to work with the students in our class, but, you know, it'd be really cool if you can work a little bit further. If I think about Michael, he was working within his district because his job as a instructional technologist, he works with different teachers, and that's neat to have them. They could be connecting with each other. And then if you can have, again, kind of like what I did, manage global connections, where we have, you know, my classroom of students is working with Mr. Clayton's classrooms of students. But, you know, the older the kids get and the more that they're working with this, you want them to be working where one student works with another student, and perhaps when they work on their own. And that really resembles, you know, their future workplace environment. So thinking about the different levels of a global connection and what you can facilitate in your classroom. So it's the September 28th, 2015 post. So if you would like to read more on that, please visit Lee's website. World's Largest Lesson by Project Everyone, which you saw. So I have a link there. Even, you know, something like an English teacher, you can go global with a book club. You could go on Twitter and you could designate a book. So if I think about the clean water and sanitation, there's a book called A Long Walk to Water. And it was in Africa, and it's two children and what they have to deal with to go for water. One's in the perspective of a young girl and the other one is the boy. And then everything that they have to work with. But, you know, that would be the piece that's in literature class. And then you could take the science piece to it, or you could take the history and the social studies and the SDGs, and you can wrap this all together. So sometimes you kind of have to think about how you should not be creating extra work for yourself. It should just naturally flow in with what you're already doing. I'm on Pinterest, and I have a bunch of different boards, but one of the boards is Teach SDG's resources. So you can go ahead and go there and see lots of different blog posts or ideas for projects if you want to get more involved. Lee had asked me last night, you know, how do you grade a project like this? Here is a creativity and innovation rubric that is from Buck Institute for Education, and they have other resources, but I thought this is the one that I used with those technology middle school students. And then the student examples of digital artifacts, you guys have already seen a little bit, but and you can go back and look at this later. But for example, my students liked Minecraft. So what they did was they did, you know, in Minecraft, they created a roller coaster, but once you came down the roller coaster, you approached a sign. And then what the students did was they recorded it, and the signs all have facts that they chose that they thought were really important that people should know about gender equality. And so maybe that's one way to have boys who aren't so really want to talk about these ideas, but they were excited to put it into Minecraft and then create something, and then they were proud to share it. The Life Below Water campaign, Chatterpix, there's a couple other, like I think it's called Yak It. There's different little pieces where you take a picture. So the students took this picture from a place where you could get a free image, and their topic was life below water. So they took the fish and put a mouth on it, and they gave them a voice talking about what's going on that you could help with. So this was their...
Hi, I'm a fish, and me and my friends are getting sick, all because of you. All the pollution you throw in our waters contaminates our homes.
So you could hear that, right? Okay, so that's an example of, you know, making, you know, doing something a little bit more creative. So the students sent it to me, and then I put it on the YouTube channel for them. Michael Drezick, he used Flipgrid with his teachers and students to talk about gender equality. So if I were to go here, I'm just going to tap on it. And for example, you can see the students, what actions, large or small, do you take in your daily life to embrace gender equality? What can you do better? So if we were to go ahead.
Hi, I'm Cooper. I am Maya. And we're here to talk about Global Goals number 5, gender equality.
One day, a boy went up to a girl and said, "Girls can't play hockey." But later that day, he found out that that girl played hockey.
So another thing you can do too is you can go here and add a reply. So I could go as a teacher and add a reply, or if you're working with a partner classroom, you could have your students replying to these students, and this is how Flipgrid would work. I'm just going really fast through these so that we can get through everything. And so when you think about, I was trying to hit on all these topics. So we talked about global competencies, the project-based learning, use of technology, the different project steps, innovative practices, spaces for creativity, authentic interactions, and take part in a collective movement like Teach SDGs. And then just, celebrate it on, what, and Rola, I know she does this where she'll tag it CBL chat, and so that she can share with other teachers so that we can see what she's accomplished in her classroom and maybe adopt it or adapt it and really reach our students. So that's an example. And then topic review, I talked about how, these projects, they always start kind of in my head and me reaching out to somebody. So it's a very organic beginning. Shared learning and collaboration. I always learn along with the students. All those videos and different items that we learned about the different people rallying for gender equality, I was learning as much as my students were. Plans for action, include your students in this, have them work with you to figure out what can you do for that social action piece. And then suggestions for success, I had told you a couple slides back, just, have a great partner, look for really good resources. And if you ever have questions, come to me, send me an email, send me a DM on Twitter, and I will try to help you. And then if anybody wants to talk about the challenges, that's always a question. Maybe we can spend our last moments talking about that if anyone would like to. I think that is it. And then I was just going to demonstrate, but we're out of time, how to use Buncee, but I was just, putting on a couple pieces here.
Do you think there's anybody in the audience that might have a video or two they could put into the chat room about how to use Buncee?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Or, okay. If anybody wants to stay, we could take questions. And then if anybody, Buncee is just so easy, and we use it with students as young as first grade because all these little images and icons, they're called stickers. And the kids, like that last one, if you saw, there was movement on it. That's called an animation, and the students sometimes go bonkers with those, but they love it. And then, but basically, you have the kids, you want to focus the conversation and you want to focus the reflection. And Buncee is a great piece for them to go ahead and create something to display their learning, display their reflection. And from here, you share it out. And like we showed you, you could share it out on Padlet, you can share it out on Twitter. There's a lot of different ways to share.
I'll tell you what, Fran, maybe what we could do is we could bring it to an end. And then if you'd like to share some more things with Buncee, I'd love to learn them. And those people who want to stick around, let's give her a big hand. I think this is amazing. I think we're on 3 different continents. I mean, this is incredible that you shared this much with us, and I look forward to following up on it. What I'd like everybody to do. Did anybody learn anything? Okay, I've got so much, my head is spinning. But here's what I want you to do, and what I want you to do is I want you to think of a takeaway, something that sticks out in your mind, and then I want you to identify a plan of action. What's something you're going to do with it?
And can we put that in the chat right now?
You put it into the chat room. In other words, just to take what really sticks, and then how do you think you might, maybe the thing you're going to do is contact Fran, but some of those options, just so we can get you moving in a forwardly manner. And the key is to connect with any of us as well. Good way to contact us is you're all getting the emails. Well, those of you that are with the global collaboration with ISTE. Is anybody here going to ISTE?
Yes.
I am.
And if anybody here is going to ISTE, and even if you aren't going to ISTE, follow us, because I am really hoping that we're going to be periscoping and sharing with others who are not at ISTE all the great things that we're learning. There's something on that Sunday called Global Education Day, and we're going to be facilitating some roundtable discussions. Hopefully we can share in with that. I know a couple people will be doing different presentations. On Wednesday, there's a global playground. There's a lot of, thinking about the ISTE standards for students. There's 7, and one of them is global collaborator. We're 1/7 as important. So that's a big deal, and we would love to share with you more there. So please connect with us. And if
And
not,
so remember that ISTE Global PLN is our hashtag. If you want to follow along and share with what we're doing, we'd love to keep in touch with all of you. And I'd like to give Fran one more big hand for this. I think it was just terrific. And have a good evening, everyone.
You too.
Now,
hi, Sylvia.
If you want to go ahead and talk about Bunchy, or if you want to just get a discussion going, you can.
Can you copy? It says that this went privately, the one I sent to you, which is the link to the presentation. Do you see that link I put in at 9/11?
I see it. I got it.
Can you recopy it and just type it at the bottom of the chat? And then everyone will have access to it.
And what is it?
That's the link to the presentation. So if anybody wants any of the links to go back and look at it more calmly, because I really sped through it, you guys can go at your own pace or use it as a resource. Okay. All right.
Looks like we have about 9 people here. If you want to share Bunchy with us.
Sure. So let me share my screen. Okay. And share screen.
Is it okay if I keep the recording going, or would you like me to stop?
Yes, that's fine. No, okay. That's fine. So this is the presentation, which actually you can download, but it was just easier for me to just keep it open. I don't mind what you guys see on my my computer. So if I want to go ahead and edit this, I'm going to go ahead and click edit, and I'm just going to show you the basics. So I'm going to go to the end, and you see this little plus sign here. That's to add a slide. And then, for example, when the students were creating the digital posters, they just did 1 slide. I did a presentation, so I have 34 slides. So when you add a slide, you get to this page, and you can decide whether you want to change the background from what we've had, or edit the background. And what you do is, when you do this, you click edit background, and it gives you all these options on the side. And this is what makes it so easy for the students. So if the students know, they can just pick a color. I can go ahead and pick, a color, and it'll give you the option, do I apply it to this slide or do I apply it to all? So for example, I'll do red and I'll apply it to this. So here's my background. But for the background, I can also make it a picture, or I can use something on all the options that are here. So for example, there's one that looks like a little schedule that says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if I can find it. Or, like let's say we pick a classroom. You can have the students, do whatever you like for that. And then this plus sign over here, you click it to add a new item. And what I usually just have the students stick with is just text, animation, and sticker. So with text, they go ahead and write something, and an animation is a sticker that moves, and then there's just a sticker. So we were talking about global. So I'm going to go to type a keyword to search, and I'm going to write global, or I might write Earth, and I see what options come up. So I'm not as thrilled with that, so I'm going to go to Earth. And then I have all these options. And then if you like it and you want to add it, you just go ahead and you click on it. And I can even click 2 of them and add, and you'll see them pop in. And once they pop in, you can go ahead and put them anywhere you like. And, you can make them bigger, smaller. You can turn it. So one of the ones I like with the stickers is the people, and especially, you know, talking about global education. Buncie's awesome because they have, if you look at this, the people are diverse. They look different. There's some that are more cartoon-like. There's some that are more realistic. You have all these options of all these wonderful people that you could put in. And what's really nice with the students, they can usually find someone that looks just like them. And then I think that's a great way too. For example, if you wanted the kids to ever have an avatar of themselves, or, you know, they don't want to be pictured, but you could find a little guy or girl that looks like them. So, and then the animation, let's say we want one of the kids to be playing in the classroom. So let's go to play. And let's say the kids wanted to be dancing. So we're going to grab this girl and we're going to get this little guy who's dabbing. And we're going to go ahead and add them. So for example, I didn't add it, but that's what you would do. And then text. If you remember, I added YouTube videos, so you can take the actual, you know, URL from the YouTube video and it'll put it right in there also. But ISTE Global PLN. So when it comes to this, you can see down here that you can change the color and you can change the font. And one of the fonts I really like is this Cabin Sketch one because it looks like chalkboard writing. Let me show you. When it gets bigger, it looks cool. And you can see that the white doesn't work very well. So let's go with, you know, a different color. And then you can go ahead and, this isn't the prettiest one, but
maybe move it up a little bit.
You're getting the, yeah, or you can see it down here. So, but there's one that's a chalkboard that when you put it on there, it looks really, really neat. If I wanted to do a YouTube video, you can put in a search. You can actually put in something, so I could put in Malala. And see if anything comes up. So here we go. And I can add it. And then it's already just right in there. And then if you go to view, you can, it'll be a live link and you can just play it right from there. So if you would like ideas for how Buncie is used, if you go to EduBuncie, they have a gallery area and you can see they have it by discipline, and you can see different ones that were created that make for elementary school, middle school, high school, that other people have created. You know, if you would like some ideas, but you could use any of these too to be lessons for your, for, you know, something that you would be teaching in class. One of the other ways that I always use Buncie is when you are on Twitter, and if you want to put, get a message out, if you add a picture, you can tag 9 people. It's either 9 people or 10 people. So no matter what I tweet, I always add a picture with it. Number 2, because it's more visually pleasing and it stands out. But that way, you know, I can, that's what I did when I was promoting this webinar. So I just took one picture of the first slide, and then I just kept tagging people that might be interested, and then just kept plugging that out. So it's just a great tool. Claire here is from Buncie. I'm just, you know, that's my little overview. I don't know what she'd like to add to it. Yes, Lee, question?
Did you just say that each one of these pictures has its own URL?
Yes. So if I click on this.
Got it. Okay.
And I don't know, it just depends. This was made by Megan. So Megan, she may have just made one slide. Because we see the arrow here, that means there's more. So we can click on the other ones. But for example, you know, like for on Twitter, I'll just make one slide. I'll take a picture of it, and then I'll tweet it out as a JPEG, and then I tag people to it. And I just, you know, I think the artwork is just exquisite, and it's just beautiful, and it just really makes presentations come to life, as you can see.
I know
So-
usually I'll do something like this and I'll have to put it into Google Doc or Google Drive and then point at it that way. But this makes it a lot easier.
So like, for example, if we hit share, you could, plug in the code right here. You can email it to someone. When you're, Claire could talk, if anybody's interested, you can buy Bunsey for schools and districts. And then with that, with a cost, there's a teacher dashboard. And so the teacher could have control over all of her students. So if, for example, I go to my EduBunsey, one second. I'm gonna go close, log in. I guess if I went to my other one. Okay, so you can see my classes are here. So if I go to my classes, I can see my students. And so this little girl, Kathy, she has 7 different Bunseys. So I can look at hers by going through here, and I can also see these are all the ones that she created. So I can see that's something that's and I can see if the students have submitted, and I can go ahead and give grades here too. So this is a real quick shot of that. And then Bunseys, if I click up here instead of classes on Bunseys, these are all the ones that I've created. So this is the look from a teacher. But here's an example of something I made just real quick for just to show how you would use it in a world language class. So I took a whole bunch of different pictures of the 2 people that were running for office in France. And these are all, labeling tired, scared, it's different emotions, but see, it's so easy to create. So these are, I put on a square and then I just typed over it here. And that's it. And this is a banner. So I put on a red banner and then I use blue writing to write across it. And these are just, little white triangles. And then I just used red to write the word. And the students really catch up with this really quickly. Does that help?
I learned a lot. Okay, any other questions? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. I think that this is, I've learned a great deal on this, and I think this is Fran is doing very important things, and obviously she was mentioning many of you in that, so it shows the importance of the things you're doing to make the world a better place. So thank you.
Before we go, I don't know if we have time, but if Michael would like to add anything, or Claire would like to add anything with Bunsey Buddies, or Michael, did you want to talk anything about the Flipgrid that you did with your students?
Well, I mean, one thing that I can say is that Bunsey Buddies was a nice way for our students to collaborate on a few projects. And that kind of kickstarted some collaborations that then extended beyond Bunsey and maybe carried over into a Flipgrid. I know our classroom's connecting with Bronwyn in Australia. So it's just a nice, easy, simple, powerful creation tool for our kids. So I'm a huge fan.
Me too.
And we are a huge fan of you as well. But I agree with Michael with Bunsey Buddies, which is our global pen pal project that we do every fall and spring. You see educators in classrooms using Skype, Google Hangouts. They're using YouTube Live to connect face to face as well as digitally, and then Flipgrid, Padlet to put it all in one place. So you're seeing a combination of tools that are being used in this entire collaboration process. And it's really something else when it all comes together.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's call it an evening. Thank you very much, Fran, and appreciate your time.
Great.
Good night, everybody.
And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And reach out anytime.
See ya.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.